Welcome to Pods with Posh and Paul, a podcast designed to inspire and challenge listeners through story, experience and insight. To face adversity, learn from suffering and discover how to embrace life with a heart filled with love and gratitude. We are so thrilled to have you journey with us and can't wait to share your stories. Join Sue O'Callaghan and Joanne Webb as we disrupt the theory that everyone has perfect lives.
Hi, and today we are talking about mindfulness, aren't we, Sue? So what are we? Are we at day 28 now of COVID lockdown?
We are day 28. Yes, we are.
Wow, 4 weeks. We're in. Wow, it's gone so fast actually when I think back on it. So the other day we released the one and only amazing Dr. Engo, didn't we? Who is a clinical psychologist, and he came up with the theme of mindfulness and distraction to help us through these times, because really it's the only thing that can help you switch off your mind, give us a little bit of balance back into our life, isn't it? Because we are in a state of, there may be worries at the minute. People are worrying whether they've still got a job, how to pay their bills, what's going to happen when we go into level 3, when we go back into level 2. There's so much unknown around, and so you can see why people could be going into a little bit of a spiral. However, we need to switch off our mind from time to time, or we will make ourselves ill. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I agree. And actually his talk was really good timing, because we were in New Zealand waiting to find out if we were going to drop from level 4 to level 3. So now we're obviously staying at level 4 for another week, and then we've told we've got level 3 for another 2 weeks after it. And it hit some people, hit me actually quite hard, in the sense that I thought we were going to psychologically move to a different place. And I think it was the psychological impact. Oh, we're just where we were before. We haven't progressed. And I felt quite low that day, actually. I found it really hard. So his talk was really good. And as you say, he gave us tips and tools on mindfulness. So it's a talk that's really worth listening to. And Ingo has got over 30 years experience, 20 years experience. I think he's got a lot more than that anyway. But he's got a lot of experience working in the area of psychotherapy and psychology, highly knowledgeable, but he's got such a calm presence, hasn't he? And he's talking about gentleness, being gentle with yourself, whatever you're doing. If you need time out, just be kind to yourself. So quite a mesmerizing voice to listen to. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so we highly recommend going back and listening to that podcast or watching it on YouTube. But so we thought we would continue with the theme of mindfulness today, because the words are thrown around quite a lot in this day and age. Be mindful, and we really appreciate that it's actually not the easiest thing to do. Now, to be mindful just means to be present here in this moment. And we remind you time and time again, yesterday is a story, it is a memory, and that's what it is. You can't relive yesterday. Tomorrow is not promised, and the only thing we have now is this very, very second here and now. So the more we can be mindful, the more that we can be within ourselves and be grounded. And the more you can practice it, it's just helpful to get you through situations. And actually, it's a really nice way to live, because if you're thinking about yesterday, or if you're really stuck in the past, that's where depression hits. If you are really worried about the future, that's when we start having anxiety attacks. Whereas if we can come back to the present moment, the right here, the right now, then it kind of makes all that disperse a little bit.
You're right. It's about being in the present moment, and it's also about practicing a different way of living, so that we come out, as you say, of the past, and come out of anxiety and fear of the future, constantly coming back to the now, because the only moment we have, as you say, is the present moment. And this is where the joy is. The joy is not in the future. The joy is not in the past. The anxiety is not in the now. It's actually the beauty of this present moment. It's about being on a beach. It's about sitting at your desk and doing work and just feeling the sensations around you. It's the good and the bad. It's absolutely everything in the present moment right now. So what are the tools and techniques we can use, Jo, to stay in the present time? It's quite hard, other than practice. What can we do?
We're going to give 5 different tips today, but the one that was mentioned, well, there's a couple mentioned on the podcast the other day, and one was breathing. But again, that can be difficult for some people, because they start worrying whether they're breathing correctly or not. But some people it really works just to stop and to take 3 really nice breaths. So in through your nose, all the way down to your belly, let it expand. and hold that breath at the top for a few seconds, and then to breathe out. And that's the type of thing that you can do anyway. You know, you can go off to the bathroom if you're having a hard day, you can sit at your desk, you can do it on an aeroplane, you can do that anyway if it works for you. However, if that's not going to work for you, don't do it. It's fine. And another one that Ingo said was to think about your hands and your feet. So just to sit there and to think about the hands, like, you know, put them together, or feel the sensations of your hands, feel how heavy your feet are, feel them, feel the texture underneath them. Are they touching carpet? Are they touching the ground? Or, you know, are you wearing shoes? You know, just bring yourself back in. It's just a moment to come back within yourself. And remember, mindfulness, it would be lovely to be mindful all the time, but if you can just practice it for 3-4 seconds at a time, it's just helping you reprogram your neural pathways, really. So they were 2 tips that were on the other day, but then we're going to give a few more today, aren't we, Sue? So you had one about hugging. So do you want to explain that? That's lovely.
You really liked that one, didn't you? Because your love language of the 5 love languages is touch. So you love hugs. And you keep saying, don't you, that after lockdown's finished, you're going to go and hug everybody. So this one is great. And suggest you kind of do it about 3 times a day. So find somebody to hug, one of your children, your partner, your mum, dad, best friend. Obviously, you can't go out of your lockdown bubble, but if you've got someone in your bubble, then hug them. And just be aware of the exchange of energy as you're holding them. Hold that embrace and just take 3 deep breaths in and out as you're hugging them, and just be aware of an exchange that's taking place. Just stay in the present moment as opposed to hugging and moving on to the next thing. Stay in that embrace with their arms around you and your arms around them. And what is lovely is if you're listening to the podcast and you think, well, that's fair and good, but I'm actually on my own, then put your arms around yourself and feel that embrace. Feel your own arms holding you. Because we're all connected to each other, we're all connected to the universe. Feel the embrace of the universe around you as you hold yourself and feel the touch. And again, close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths in and out slowly. And then just do that 3 times a day.
And it definitely works. I must admit, I'm a big hugger. And so my children are around and I go, come on, we've got to do one of those nice hugs. And it's not just one of those quick hugs as you're walking past to go and grab the cereal from the cupboard. It's a proper embrace, heart to heart hug. And then you actually, you feel your own body just kind of, you know, this tension just goes, oh, and you feel it in them as well. And it's, by the end of it, you have that snuggly feeling. So it definitely works. That's a lovely one.
What was interesting yesterday is that I got quite stressed yesterday. It was a frantic day, and I messaged a friend and they said to me, oh gosh, I just want to put my arms around you and give you a hug. And in that instant, I imagined their arms around me, and actually the stress dissipated straight away because I actually stayed present. I was out walking, stopped moving, and I just stayed in that position, imagining their arms were around me, closed my eyes, and the stress just went. It was really powerful. So you can do it in an imaginary way as well as if you're on your own. So Jo, what have you got as the next one?
I'm going to bring eating into the equation because one of my second loves is food. No, that's not really why. But it is a moment when we can be mindful. So we eat, say 2-3 times a day, whatever. Really make it an occasion. And again, it's really good for your digestive system anyway to do this, because we can so easily eat mindlessly. We sit down at the table, you eat it because you need to fuel your body, you're hungry, and you go away. And there's not actually much thought put into that food. However, if you can prepare the food, really take into account as when you're doing it, appreciate it, give thanks to that for the food that we've got, because there's lots of people who don't have food. So be really thankful for this meal that you're about to eat. And then really, when you put it in your mouth, really appreciate it. Feel the textures, taste the taste, chew the food properly. We're so easy just to gobble it up rather than chewing 12, 20 times, whatever it is. Really take the time to appreciate each mouthful if you can. And you know what? Through the whole meal, you're not going to stay mindful, perhaps. Maybe you will. But if it comes and goes and thoughts come and go, but if you can just appreciate as much as you can of that meal, we actually feel the fullness in our stomach, because sometimes you eat a whole meal and then 20 minutes later you feel a bit sick because there was no mindful practice there. Whereas if you can start eating a bit more intuitively anyway, it's really, really good for your systems. But it is a time when you can be really mindful and actually be really in gratitude for that food. It's beautiful.
That's a beautiful exercise to do, Jo. I'm aware sometimes that, I'm always thinking about the next thing and I'm going to gobble my food down quickly and get on to the next exercise I've got on my agenda for the day. So that's a really good one for me. I'm going to do that one.
What's your next one?
Well, I'm going to practice this on you, actually. So I'd like you to close your eyes and take your index finger from your right hand, put out your left hand. And what I want you to do is just run your finger from your wrist on top of your hand to the top of your thumb slowly, and just feel the sensation of your hand, and then come back to your wrist, and then take that finger up to your first finger, slowly up to the nail, and then take it back down to the wrist, just feeling the sensation on the top of your hand, and then up to the top of your middle finger, all the way to your nail, slowly, and back down again, just feel that sensation, and then back up to your fourth finger, up to the nail, and then just bring it back to the wrist slowly again, feeling the nerves, sensation on your hand, and then finally up to the little finger, to the very, very tip, to the very end, and then bring it back to your wrist, just aware of the sensations and the feelings there.
Do you know what? I love that, because again, my love language is physical touch. So even that, you don't realise how many nerve endings are there in your hands, and it's also tingly, and actually it's just a really nice relaxing sensation. I was like, oh, this is really dreamy.
And often when it's about touch, you have to come out of the present or the past or the future, because you're actually concentrating on that sensation of our senses. The other thing to do is then to turn your hand over and do it on the same hand but on the other side, and then to take your left index finger and do the same on both sides of your right hand. And it's beautiful, it's lovely, simple little exercise. What's your next one?
My next one's to do the exercise, because that's who I am. That's another one of my loves. I am, and I love being outdoors.
This one.
I love being outdoors. I love being in nature. And if you can combine movement, fresh air, and nature, then you are on a pathway. That's a great thing, a great combination. It's soul-filling. And when you are out, whatever it is you're doing, whether you're running or walking briskly or even just strolling, just listen to the sounds around you. Listen to, are there birds? Is somebody mowing their lawn? Are there children laughing? Is there a plane going overhead? Whatever it is. And maybe feel your feet touch the ground. Listen to the sound that's making. Is it going heel to toe, heel to toe, heel to toe? Or you can concentrate on your breathing when you're out walking. There's many things you can do, but try to use your senses to bring you again. Or the whole point of mindfulness is to bring you back within yourself and to feel grounded and to be in that present moment. So often when we go out exercising, we have a million thoughts in our head, and it is a great time to process thoughts. So there's nothing wrong with that. However, at some parts of it, just be mindful. Like if I go out for an hour walk, for instance, I maybe have all these million thoughts, and maybe being creative in my head, thinking about how we're going to write, what podcast we're going to do. And then the last 3 minutes I stand on the beach and I give thanks. Thank you for living in such a beautiful place. Oh my goodness, look, I'm surrounded by such beauty. And I just either listen to the waves lapping, or I'll concentrate on a shell, or I'll look at the sunrise, whatever it is at that moment. But I stand there and I breathe, and I just stand, and I'm grounded, and I'm thankful, and I'm present for several minutes. And that really works for me.
And if you're listening and you're in lockdown and you can't get outside and be in a beautiful environment, you live in high-rise apartments, find something or a place in your apartment that you can do that, a place that has something beautiful around it, and be aware of the surroundings in that place that you're standing or sitting.
Because what you said about before about the hug, the power of our mind is so amazing. So please do not underestimate what you can do. If you are in a confined space, let your imagination do it for you. Yeah. Imagine being outdoors, imagine being somewhere beautiful, whatever that is for you. It might be in the mountains, it might be skiing, it might be on a beach, it might be in your garden, whatever it is, imagine it, allow yourself to feel it, and just be in that moment for a few seconds. That's what mindfulness is all about.
And interestingly, we do that on social media a lot, don't we? We look at other people's lives and we're imagining we're there on the holiday with them or in their back garden as they're mowing the lawn. So it's exactly the same thing without social media, isn't it? It's actually just closing your eyes and feeling the sensation of that image or the places you talk about.
Yeah.
My last one is going to be smells. So it's accessing something in nature that's got a smell, like a twig of thyme or a little twig of rosemary or Lavender's a really good one, and just feel the sensation of rubbing it in your hand and absorbing the oil in it, and just putting your hands to your nose and just smelling it. Smell is such a powerful sensation, like sound and music, to transport us into the present moment. It's in the same way that you could put a CD on and you'd heard it in childhood and you're dancing to the music as a teenager. Exactly same sensation. It takes you straight back to another place. So be in the moment of just putting your hands to your nose and just smelling the aroma. If you're in lockdown and you say, well, I can't actually access anything, then go to your drawer full of herbs and spices and take out some spice and just rub them in your hand, or a little bit of, again, herbs, rub it into your hand and just have the sensation of smelling it, because smell is such a powerful emotive reaction, isn't it? It's just extraordinary. Our senses are more powerful than we're aware. We don't tune into the sounds of the birds, the smells, the tastes. And once we start to tune in and be present in the moment, we can find such joy. And as you were saying, gratitude, just being so grateful for what's present in front of us.
Can I read my quote now?
Yes, you love quotes.
I love quotes. I just love beauty as well. And this quote is super beautiful. It uses beautiful but powerful words. Mindfulness is about being fully awake in our lives. It is about perceiving the exquisite vividness of each moment. We also gain immediate access to our powerful inner resources for insight, transformation, and healing. Now that is so beautiful, and that's by Jon Kabat-Zinn, who is a master in mindfulness. When you read it again, so mindfulness is about being fully awake in our lives, because think about that. When are we not actually here? If you are in the past or if you are in the future, you are not awake in your present life. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes life is really bad and we need escapism, and that's fine. But sometimes the way to escape is to be present and to find the beauty in the moment as well. Mm-hmm. So that's the first line. Mindfulness is about being fully awake in our lives. And then it is about perceiving the exquisite vividness of each moment. Now, I love those words. Exquisite is the most pretty word. And we live in an amazing world. Mother Nature is so clever that if we can find little things in the moment to be grateful for, it just brings us back into it. And again, it's that whole thing of gratitude, isn't it? So we love gratitude so much.
And we were talking about the word exquisite yesterday, weren't we? Both saying we just absolutely love it. It's quite an extraordinary word. And to be in the exquisite is to be in gratitude. It's just to be in the present now. But also, I think from that quote, insight, transformation, and healing are quite powerful words, aren't they? Because we all need healing constantly from the busyness of life, from trauma, from words that people have spoken over our life, from unkindness. Transformation, our journey is to constantly be transformed. And insight, have an insight that, to stop and just be insightful. So I think that quote is beautiful. Who's it by, Jo?
Jon Kabat-Zinn. Mm-hmm. But equally, the whole insight, transformation, and healing, those three things cannot be achieved if you are not in the moment. No. If you are in the past, how can you have insight? You can look to the past for experience. However, you can't look within yourself to the past, because you're a different person today than you were yesterday. So the only way you're going to gain any insight to you now is to look within in this moment. How can you have transformation if you're looking at the past or the future? And the healing and insight and healing brings about transformation. And you can't heal again if you're not prepared to look at what needs healing.
And also, Jo, there's research that proves that neuroimaging meditation studies have found that 8 weeks only of mindfulness meditation changes our brains, and it rewires them to be much more positive in their thought emotions as opposed to negative. And there's several different areas of evidence. One is that our brains move from high frequency to low frequency. So mindfulness decreases our neurological connection to our medial frontal cortex, which is the me center, which is responsible, therefore, for reducing stress and anxiety and fear. We can eliminate that out of our life or reduce it, which is what we all need to do. We don't want stress. Stress, don't get me wrong, is a normal, healthy response to a stimulus that is dangerous for us, the fight or flight response. Are we safe? Yes or no? But overstimulus causes too much stress. That's not healthy for us at all. And then also our brain actually changes shape, which is a process known as neuroplasticity, which you and I know about. And that's extraordinary. We can change the shape of our brain. I find that quite interesting that only 8 weeks, Joe, not 3 years, only 8 weeks, we can actually change the shape of our brain. And also we can increase the grey matter and the cortical thickness, which is the area responsible for emotional regulation, problem solving, and learning and memory. 8 weeks, we can have quite a severe impact on our brain. Brains are really clever, aren't they? I wish I'd studied neuroscience. I find it fascinating.
Oh, I find it absolutely fascinating. And I think that's just the empowering thing for our listeners to understand. You can change anything you want to change. So we've all had awful experiences from the past. We've all lived through some kinds of adversity and suffering. However, you don't need to live in that. You don't need to stay there, and our brains can change. So whenever I hear things being, oh, he's never going to change or she's never going to change, people don't change unless they want to, and the power is in your hands. And we can change our pathways to our brain. We don't have to have negative thought patterns all the time. Don't get me wrong, you don't really eradicate them forever. They come and go. However, you have more control over them than what you actually think. You are in control of that little voice in your head that is either mean to you or nice to you. And the more we can practice mindfulness, meditation, distraction, the kinder we can be to ourselves, then the more likely you are to have some kind of inner peace.
Yeah. And we speak from experience, don't we, Joe? You've been through a horrific, really abusive relationship and found your way out of your own struggles and trauma. I've written a book about mine, which involved my children being abducted when they were very tiny. So we've actually walked through the journey and come to a place where we've had transformation in our own life. And we're still on that journey. Neither of us have got there by any means, but we're on the journey, and we can see the power of gratitude. We can see the power of being in the present moment as opposed to being resentful for the past or in bitterness or unforgiveness. We've come out of that.
Yeah.
And to be present is to enjoy the beauty of who we are. And therefore, when we've learned to love ourselves, we can love other people and have healthy relationships and be in a greater sense of joy for the future that's coming. Be in gratitude again for everything that comes our way. That doesn't mean all our days are good and easy. We have our ups and downs. Everybody has their ups and downs. Everybody has their highs and lows. And Joe and I always say, everyone has got a story in them. Your story is as important as everybody else's, but we'd love you to be present in the moment, to enjoy your life, be grateful for the things that you've got. And the more we start to see what we have actually got, the more then the universe brings our way. Yeah. And it starts, doesn't it, Joe, with little things. When I first had to think of 10 things in a day I had to be grateful for and come back to that present moment, it was just, well, I'm glad I've got oxygen to breathe, because I couldn't think of anything to be grateful for. So it starts with little things and then it builds. But again, coming back to the mindfulness, start with little things. Start with one little exercise that you have liked, that either Joe or I have given you. Practice, 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 build on it, whether it's the hugs, whether it's the sensation of food in your mouth, whether it's actually smelling something, whatever it is, or some music. Practice each day and come back to the present moment and just be in gratitude.
Yeah, and because you deserve it. You don't deserve to be in a state of worry or anxiety or stress all the time. That's not the cards that you need to be dealt. You deserve some moments of beauty in your life because you are worth it. And whether you're in a COVID lockdown or whether it's just normal parts of life, trust me, all of these beautiful tips really, really do help. These are the things that help us get through our life, and we are getting things thrown at us left, right and centre quite a lot. So should I leave us with the quote again, Sue?
Yes, please.
I'll try not to trip over those words and go blah, blah, blah. Okay. Mindfulness is about being fully awake in our lives. It is about perceiving the exquisite vividness of each moment. We also gain immediate access to our own powerful inner resources for insight, transformation, and healing.
Beautiful, really beautiful.
Thank you so much. Love, light, and peace from Joe and Sue. Thanks so much for being with us today. For us to inspire others to live their magnificently imperfect life, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or on your podcast app. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Pods with Posh and Paul. We can't wait for you to join us on our next episode. Love, light and peace.